This is Ms. Monson from Shady Brook, and this video is about empty number lines, what they are, and how we use them to solve multiplication and division problems. We've already used empty number lines to solve addition and subtraction problems. If that video seemed a little complicated to you, the good news is that showing multiplication and division on empty number lines is much more straightforward. Let's start with multiplication. Multiplication is combining equal-sized groups, so our jumps into a simple multiplication problem will always be the same size. If I wanted to show 4 times 7, which means 4 groups of 7, I know that 7 is how big each group is, and 4 is the number of groups. So the groups will be the jumps, 4 jumps, and we'll count by 7s to label the number line. 7, 14, 21, 28. Now, we talk about fact families, and we know that 7 times 4 will get us the same answer of 28. But 7 times 4 means 7 groups of 4, so that number line will look different. This time, we'll draw 7 jumps and count by 4s to label the number line. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. While I teach children the difference between these two number lines in problems, I'm not a stickler for their number lines matching the problem exactly. Many kids find it easier to count by 4 than by 7, and I want the tools I give them to be useful. Division looks a little different, just because we're missing some information about the parts, and in a number line, the parts are the jumps. So, with 42 divided by 6, we'll start on 42. The 6 is flexible. It could be the number of groups, the number of jumps, or it could be the size of each group, the size of the jumps. When using a number line, it can be tricky to use the divisor, the 6 in this example, as the number of groups because you kind of have to guess at, or already know, how big each jump would be. You can use a guess and check strategy, but it's going to be easier to make the 6 the size of the groups. We'll start on 42 and jump back 6. Now we're on 36, and we jump back 6 more to 30. From 30 we jump to 24. From 24 we'll go to 18. From 18 we go to 12, and then one more jump puts us on 6. But we're not finished until we've landed on 0. Once we're on 0, we can count how many jumps we just made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 42 divided by 6 equals 7. When we get into multiplying bigger numbers, we can still use the number line. Let's look at 13 times 6. I don't know that one off the top of my head. I'm going to break apart the 13 into 10 and 3. I'll do 6 times 10, which is 6 jumps of 10 and ends on 60. Then I still have 3 times 6. I can do 3 jumps of 6 or 6 jumps of 3, but since I like to get to my answers quickly, I'm going to do 3 jumps of 6. 60 plus 6 is 66. Add another 6 and you're on 72. And then the third 6 puts you on 78. So yes, 13 times 6 equals 78. Now, the more you work with number lines, the more ways you see to solve a problem. Let's try one more. Let's do 34 times 8. Again, I don't know the answer to this one before I start. I'm actually thinking about breaking down the 8. I could make 4 groups of 2, and 2 times 34 seems like a pretty easy problem. But let's break apart the 34. So many options for solving it. If I do 8 jumps of 30, I know that 4 of those jumps will get me to 120. So 4 more jumps would land me on 240. Now I've still got 4 times 8. I really just want to do 4 jumps of 8, but I think I'm more likely to make a mistake that way. I could do 8 jumps of 4, or I could break apart that 8. I could pull a nice 5 out of there. 4 jumps of 5 would give me 20, so now I'm at 260, with 4 groups of 3 left to do, because 3 plus 5 equals 8. 4 jumps of 3 will move me up to 12, which gives me a total of 272. Now, let's just multiply that to make sure I got the correct answer. Yep, it looks like that worked. In the video about addition and subtraction number lines, I mentioned how important it is to develop and encourage flexible thinking around numbers. You and your child will really start to see the importance of this as she gets older. Kids who can manipulate numbers find math easier and more enjoyable. A kid who doesn't know how to break apart numbers is always solving a new problem, and it's exhausting. Number lines are just another tool for solving a multiplication or division problem. This is Ms. Monson, and this video is all about using number lines to solve multiplication and division problems.